Okay, so I just want to record this just to save anyone else going through the same traumatic experience that me and my brother, sisters, and my mother went through when my dad recently passed away. Uh, what happened is that the nurses came to the house. My dad's health had been deteriorating. They did some tests and they wanted to confirm the test results. So with the best of intentions, they asked for him. They suggested that he should go to accident emergency and get further tests and confirmations that backed up what they suspected. So my dad obviously didn't want to go. He was stressed. He didn't like. He's 87 years old. He didn't want to be in an hospital environment. Full stop, really. But they convinced him to go. Um, So an ambulance was ordered, and he went to accident emergency. And my thoughts were, I got told my sister had gone with him, and I got told it was accident emergency. So I thought, oh God, I hope he's not in there for 4 hours. Like you normally are with accident emergency. I thought he's an elderly man. I thought, there'd be a bit of compassion to get him in there. So anyway, went to hospital. And about an hour or two later, my sister contacted us all and she said, "Oh, we're still in the ambulance sat outside the hospital." So this is like they've been there for a couple of hours by this point, which surprised me, and not even got into accident and emergency. Anyway, he was getting very agitated and very stressed, so she stayed with him. And then he went from the ambulance, after a couple of hours, he went from the ambulance to inside the corridor, inside the hospital doors. For an 87-year-old man, that's not a good place to be anyway. I assumed when he went to hospital that he'd either be checked when he got there and then decided, like, oh, he's fine, we'll give him some medication, do a diagnosis, and if he's either sent home or he'd be admitted to the hospital and in a bed. And at that point, like, my sister would come home, and we'd, based on the advice we were given, go and visit him or, monitor him or whatever. Or, like I say, come home. But that didn't happen. Basically, what happened was he was in the corridor from about 4:30 that evening till he was still in the corridor, as far as I know, he's still in the corridor um, at 6 o'clock the next morning. So that's sort of 14 hours nearly. 14 hours he was in the corridor, you know, stressed to the high heavens, agitated. And then when they did have actually put him somewhere, they moved him to a place that was just basically chairs. You sat in a chair while they did these tests and that. So basically, I was there, and they said, if you want to, from about 12 o'clock, they sort of were saying, like, well, if you're prepared to take him home in your car, then we can release him because there's no medical reason for him to be here. So I thought, well, why? Like, so why has he been here for like 20 hours? Like, if there's no reason for him to be in hospital, why has he been here 20 hours? So they said if you're willing to take him home in your car, they'll release him. So they released him about 2:30 the next day. So we've been in hospital from 4:30 to 4:30. Well, that's 12 hours. And then till 2:30, another 10 hours, sort of. So best part of a day, really, in an hospital corridor. Um, and unfortunately, the stress of that visit to hospital, sadly, it didn't last even a week after he got home. Um, and he passed away. And we've all said now that the nurses, if you've got an elderly relation, and the nurses come with the best of intentions from a medical standpoint, yeah, that's probably was the best thing to do is go on to the hospital. When an elderly person going to the hospital could basically the stress of going to hospital could be worse than just letting nature take its course. So we know now, and this is what I'm doing the video for, is we know now that with the best of intentions, yeah, go to the hospital. If you thought you could go to the hospital, get seen, released or admitted, but that's just not what happens at the moment in hospitals. You're sitting in a corridor for maybe a day. My brother went to hospital with pneumonia. He was very, very seriously ill. He went to hospital. He was in the corridor for 3 days. So that's 3 days of like no sleep, proper sleep, proper 8 hour, proper in your own bed sleep, which is not good or healthy and it's not sustainable. And when he said, like, I need to get home, they said, well, we don't think you're well enough to be released. And he said, well, I'm gonna die of lack of sleep. So then they released him. But that's just the state of the NHS. Don't get me wrong, the nurses, the staff there are angels. You know, that's not in question at all. But the people who run the facilities, the governments that put systems in place, the fact that an 87-year-old man is left in a corridor for the best part of 24 hours and then released because they say there's no medical reason for him to be there, which caused his deterioration in health to be accelerated to such a point that within a day of him getting home, he could no longer get to the bathroom, he could no longer get to his bedroom. There's just the stress of it. He just went downhill so fast, and in less than a week, he died. So I just want to say to anybody who's got an elderly relative that take the decision for yourself, take the advice of professionals, take the advice of nurses, anybody that comes to visit an elderly relative at home. But think to yourself, they're getting to the end of the life, they're seriously ill. Do they want to go through the experience that my father went through? And just think about it first. That's all I want to say. It's just like a public service announcement to say that the way the NHS currently is at the moment, you've got to think seriously about whether you're in such a bad state that you actually do need to go to accident emergency, because it used to be 4 or 5 hours sat in the waiting room. Now you can be there days. So I just wanted to let everybody know that what I'd been through, and maybe it'll help you think about what your decision would be if that situation presented itself to yourself. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye bye.